ask a lot of questions. I like a lot of commentary. I think it's just an element of, we tend to learn more as a group in a back and forth than any one given lecture. So actually, let's open casually if folks don't mind. And again, as anyone online is able to give comments, a nice way to start all the time is, hey, what do you assume that you know about proactive management of your mental health? And what are your questions about your proactive management of your mental health?
You'd be more about this whole, because when you're here, you get totally whited out by the light.
Oh, okay, all right. What do you seem to be true? What do you seem to know about the proactive management of your mental health? And what are your questions about your proactive management of your mental health? Yes.
I guess the first thing would be just to recognize that there's an issue.
Good. Recognition of the issue. Okay. Who here has ever had a healthcare issue or has a healthcare issue? Okay. Who here has done the perfect job at recognizing that issue, getting on top of that issue, making sure that they were sharing with everybody else about the nature of the issue and collecting all their resources and information? Okay. We are familiar with the idea that we all have a healthcare issue, and most of us have mixed success in the proactive engagement of our healthcare. Does that make sense? Very human. I have my physical actually coming up on Friday, and who do you think? So I've had a few colonoscopies because my grandmother has a history of colon cancer. I've had one polyp now. Who do you think is more enthusiastic on knowing exactly when my next colonoscopy is? Me or my wife?
Your wife.
That makes sense? We all get it. We all have healthcare, and we all have multiple different reasons why we engage it with mixed success or not so much success, but recognition often being one of the first fundamental steps. Cool. Others?
Good.
Ready to begin?
We are all set.
Cool.
Can we do a quick welcome?
Absolutely. Okay.
I'll kind of stand up here. Hopefully people online can hear me. Welcome everyone to Lindner Center of Hope's Community Education Series. We do this almost monthly on an annual basis, and we're really pleased to have so many folks join us in person and online. And we are very grateful to the Manor House for hosting us live today. And then we're also grateful to community partners for helping us invite friends online to join us from wherever they are around the country. So thank you for that. Tonight we have Dr. Peter White, who is with us. Well, that's sorry. Outpatient therapist, and he works with adults in our outpatient practice, and is going to be speaking tonight about proactively managing mental health care, your behavioral health. And I'll turn it over to you, Peter, to take it from here.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you as always for the Manor House. Thank you guys for helping coordinate access to people online. Just very quickly about me, enough about my resume so that you might know what I'm good at, what I'm maybe not so good at. I've been at it about 30 years. And a lot of the work I've done has been community-based, multiple community mental health centers. I've done a lot of substance use. Actually, the first time I came to the Lindner Center is when we started the methadone and Suboxone clinic, probably back in 2017 or so. Right. I've done a lot of severe mental illness, and then I've done a lot of general practice with common behavioral health conditions, depressions, traumas, anxieties. So I think the big thing I would say for my career is I'm very used to the idea that most problems are multiple problems. Does that make sense? Most of the healthcare stuff we have makes us potentially vulnerable to other healthcare stuff. Okay. My other big one in my first slide, which I promised to keep as my first slide for a while, is that behavioral healthcare is healthcare. Okay. When we talk about the stigma around mental health care, I think one of the most important and useful ways to address it is to just note, it's just a healthcare issue. Makes sense? You have your mind, you have your body, you have your relationships, you have your emotional life, you have your phase of life changes. Physical, mental, emotional. If we can all just approach it with the same spirit of, we will flourish when we actively engage and successfully manage disease processes, right? We will tend to stagnate when we do not do those things, okay? Like a lot of healthcare issues, behavioral healthcare tends to have chronic elements, right? We're talking about behavioral healthcare, and when I talk about behavioral healthcare, I include anything that we're familiar with as a mental health diagnosis, your depressions, your anxieties, your traumas, anything that has to do with a substance use or a process of abuse problem, okay? Your alcoholism, your substance abuse, your gambling, all of these. Anything that has anything to do that's about thinking, emotions, decision-making, and relationship. Does that make sense? That's behavior. There's not, I've never been able to find this convenient corner where there's a mental health thing here, and there's a substance use thing here, and there's a relationship issue here. It's just behavioral health, which is well incorporated into your global approach to your healthcare. That makes sense to folks? Okay. We can be quite expert at something, right? Doctors are experts, providers are experts, right? And me is one example of a couple things, can know things about diagnosis and symptom sets and consequences and patterns in disease processes, right? We can know what tends to be indicated for treatment, what can be helpful with treatment, what may be consequences or side effects of treatment. Okay, we can be expert in that. You've probably encountered a few healthcare people in your life who have been helpful experts. That make sense? But we are not the experts of your health. You are the experts of your health. Does this make any sense? So there's two things when we're approaching healthcare. One, we may need an expert, and we typically need expert for the most significant disease processes. Okay. If I have the cancer diagnosis, I need an oncologist, right? We typically can use experts. They're very helpful to us with particular disease process, but my argument would be then otherwise, other holistic and fundamental aspects of your healthcare spread outward, away from expertise of disease to expertise of yourself. Folks find that at all? Right, this is the holistic approach of, and therefore a gazillion different things come into potential consideration. And we'll do some work, we'll do some participatory stuff, however much you want to participate, around the idea of, okay, well, how do I holistically approach my healthcare? Make sense? I have a particular disease process. Yeah, I might need a doctor, I might need a PT, I might need an OT, I might be, right? But in the meantime, how do I holistically think about the ways that I approach my healthcare processes? All right, anybody else? What do they feel they know about proactive health? What are their questions about the proactive approach of mental health? Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm dealing with two sons with mental health.
Good.
But, and actually they've been up here to Lindner Center both. But how do I recognize that I'm not ready to break?
Oh, good. All right. So someone with two loved ones who are experiencing significant mental health symptoms, and then trying to recognize probably the impact for it and the way that you maintain your health, the both for loved ones. Okay. Is this common? Anyone coping with loved ones with significant mental health issues? All right. I do a lot of talk about that. I haven't done tons of it here, but I'll keep trying to incorporate it in. Does that make sense? COVID is contagious.
Of the FBI are working
Behavioral health care is not contagious. Okay, it can sure feel like it. It is sure impactful, but it's not exactly contagious. But yeah, the appreciation of I'm trying to help my loved ones. I'm trying to get them successfully managed. And I'm trying to see what is the strength in myself to be available and possibly even keep growing through the process, right? I don't want to do rainbows and butterflies. But what is it like for us to grow through the process of helping each other with our healthcare concerns, our healthcare challenges? Does this make any sense? Okay, but good, thank you. All right, anyone else? Questions or things that they seem to be knowing about proactive healthcare?
I would just say balanced habits.
Okay.
Like regular sleeping,
Good.
eating. Communication.
Balanced habits, communication, very good. Okay, does balance ever get boring?
Like routine.
What's that?
Like routine.
Routine, right? How do we have routine but also have spontaneity? How do we have balance and let stuff go at sometimes? How do we have off kilter back to on kilter, back to, right? But yes, excellent. Most of us will acknowledge, we tend to have, who acknowledges they're a creature of habit? Okay. If someone were to ask you, what percentage of your habits do you think you would describe as healthy? What percentage of your habits would you describe as unhealthy? Right? What percentage is unclear? Does this make sense? We're very habitual creatures. Routine of sorts tends to be quite healthy. And most of us contend with some degree of, why do I keep doing that thing that I don't think is the best thing for me, but I do it. And I think I'd like to stop, but I keep doing it. Okay. We're very habitual creatures. We tend to thrive off of routine, but we can also stagnate from routine. So balance, absolutely. And let's keep talking about, well, what's the way balance becomes also growth? Does this make any sense? Cool.
Did you say that again?
How do we make sure that balance also keeps being part of growth? Right. We'll do a couple of exercises around that. Yes, sir. Sorry, too whited out.
Yes.
Feel like I'm too much on the stage. So we already get into stuff. Behavioral healthcare is healthcare. Okay. There's no need for stigma around mental health care any more than there's no need for stigma around, I'm going to see my physician for my physical, right? I see my therapist about 3 times a week now, just 3 times, pardon me, that'd be psychoanalysis. Once every 3 weeks now, right? He helps me. He helps me work on the things that I want to work on. He helps me identify the things that are suggestive of, that might not be the best for you. That might keep you stagnated, right? I'm going to see my medical doctor on Friday for my physical. I'm going to get my blood work, my lipid profile, and I'm going to see my psychotherapist, Richard. I do about every 3 weeks. Does that make sense? Healthcare. No stigma. Tougher when some of our symptoms are tougher. Behavioral healthcare symptoms can get tough. Can get very stressful. Can get intransient, pretty stuck. Is this ever going to get better? But that's true for medical healthcare as well. Healthcare is healthcare. Okay? Because behavioral healthcare is healthcare, how you proactively manage your health is the exact same as how you proactively manage your behavioral health, right? This drives me crazy, but my A1Cs just went a teeny bit pre-diabetic. Drives me nuts, okay? I made sure I got my blood test 3 months ago, so I could see if I was having any luck, teeny bit of luck. Still 5.7, it's like, just go back under 5.6, for anyone who knows A1Cs, okay? That's proactive healthcare, and I'm enjoying it, but whatever. Same thing, I meet with Richard to discuss what my own stress reduction routine is. Okay. Healthcare runs the spectrum from disease to stabilization and on to thriving and growth. This is the other big note I'm regularly making. Again, you may have had a severe healthcare issue in your lifetime. Your loved one may have had a severe healthcare issue. You may have had a chronic healthcare issue. You have one, you probably still do have a chronic healthcare issue. If you've had severe behavioral health stuff, you've probably had chronic severe behavioral health stuff for yourself and your loved ones, right? That is one aspect of mental health care. Fortunately, there's always hope, there's always help. And the other good news about behavioral health care is that recovery tends to stay available. Does this make sense? Even from some of our tougher, more severe conditions, the great bulk of behavioral health care is stuff that you can keep stabilizing with and growing from. Okay? We can't say that about every medical condition. Most behavioral health care conditions, substance use is a very particular interesting example, right? Substance use is a critical problem. It is a chronic problem. It is a problem wildly disruptive to individual life, family life. And at the exact same time, any day could be the day in which your recovery takes root and you really start to flourish. Does this make sense? We're having a spectrum in healthcare. We just want to acknowledge there are some terrible states. And we work with this and we can be successful. We can be stabilizing and we can be successful over to a large part of your behavioral health care should be, how do I make myself happier? How do I keep enjoying what I'm enjoying? How do I keep thriving? How do I keep and everything there on the spectrum? Does that make sense? The more serious the condition, most likely the more you want treatment. What's the difference between a clinical behavioral problem? What's the difference between good old-fashioned depression and a clinical depression? The best line I can get, the best definition I can get, is that it becomes clinical when without some additional expert help, it becomes less and less likely that you'll get better, right? And the risk factors of getting worse and worse increase. Does this make any sense? Okay. The best definition I can get for clinical is you might need some treatment intervention because even if you do everything the best you can, you might really struggle to get better. My lipid profile is now a clinical issue. Okay, what's that? I've gone to see my doctor multiple years. This is high. Your cholesterol really, your LDLs, they're really stinking. You know, really. Okay, doc, I'm going to work on diet and exercise, and this is the year I'm going to get my lipid profile back. You know, go back another year. And yeah, no, really not better. Go back another year. And there's my doctor saying, hey, you have a family history of poor cholesterol. You have a family history. My father, who was a decent athlete, frankly, a better athlete than I did, had a whole bad lipid profile. Okay. My doctor said, I don't know why you're risking heart disease when I can treat it, be very helpful to it, and make this go away from you. Does that make sense? I'm on Lipitor as a clinical issue. I put some effort into managing it on my own. I need a professional medical intervention to help me enjoy the best of my health. Does that make sense? I would argue the same is true for behavioral health. What makes something clinical? You might need a conversation with a couple of professionals, psychiatric, around medication, mental health, psychotherapeutic, to best identify what's going on, to make sure that symptoms don't get worse, risk factors get higher, and that you get better. That makes sense. That is my line of what's a clinical behavioral health factor versus not. That makes sense, folks? Okay. We're on the spectrum of disease stabilization onto thriving and growth. Problems worsen without being addressed. I always like when I talk about these slides, well, before I bring you up. Problems improve and address, problems have treatment and recovery available. One of the lovely things about working at the Lindner Center, it's nice to have a full service facility. That makes sense? If people need inpatient level of care, we can help with that. We have the capacity to address people at whatever level they need. Onto the where we're doing this kind of thing, right? We're just doing this kind of thing for our healthcare. For, I know I benefit from it. Hopefully you have the experience of, yeah, I don't need any critical, but I do need to keep learning, keep growing, keep challenging myself. Everything from disease process to growth process is part of healthcare. That makes sense? Behavioral healthcare can be very difficult, but fortunately, whatever the behavioral healthcare presentation, pathways towards growth are going to help. All right. Any other comments from folks at home? No problem, they're not, just curious. Nope. Good. Given the treatment and recovery always tend to be available, let's get proactive for the prevention of problems and to cultivate thriving and growth. Okay, we want to increase our accountability so that our capacity to prevent problems when they're presenting themselves can improve, and so that we can experience ourselves stable and growing. Okay. Proactivity is along the same spectrum. Proactivity is there designed to prevent problems before they happen when we can, to create as many resilient factors to problems as we can. Right? Oh, my sleep sticks again. Oh, my thoughts are getting darker again. Oh my, right? How do I get proactive? How do I get resilient? How do I get myself headed back towards the experience of stability and then growth and thriving? That's everything that goes into proactivity. Is that making sense to folks? It is prevention, it is resilience, it is growth. And we can do some shared exercises around that stuff. Cool. Questions, comments so far? All right. So what are 3 proactive questions you might ask yourself? How do I know when I'm getting sick? Back to the accountability thing. How do I know I'm getting sick? How do I know when I'm doing okay? And we don't often ask ourselves this question, but we should. How do I know what helps keep me stable? What is helping me endure? What is helping giving me security factors? Personal, relational, resource-wise. Why did I used to feel more stable before the pandemic than after the pandemic? What helped me with stabilization then? And then finally, how do I know when I'm growing? How do I know when, whatever area I want to focus on, body, mind, spirit, relationship, how do I know if I'm growing? Does this make sense? We're going to get familiar with the spectrum of the way we want to approach our behavioral health. We want to get familiar with being sick. We gotta want to get very familiar with what's stabilizing for us. And we want to get familiar with what feels like a growth practice. Folks buying this, this is the self questions to yourself of what proactive approach to your health is. And you want to spend time with all of them. Okay? How do people know when they're gonna be sick?
Don't feel well.
You don't feel well, right? What might be examples of not feeling well?
To sleep more.
You want to sleep more, sleep too much. How about you want to sleep more and then you don't even want to get out of bed even after you've slept? What other signs that you're not doing well, behavioral health wise?
You're distracted.
I'm distracted, right? Gee, I am reading this thing, I'm watching. I would walk into the den and my mother would be sitting there and I'd say, what's going on in the show? And she'd look at me, she says, oh, you know that I don't even pay any attention to this stuff. This is total stress management. They'd be like, oh, okay, right? I'm reading this thing. Oh, I've been at the office sitting here at my desk for 20 minutes. And it's like my mind's not even here. Right? Other ways we might know we're sick, particularly behavioral health wise.
Not moving.
We're not moving, right? I've been sitting on the back porch and I'm still sitting on the back porch. I should go for a walk. Huh, funny, I think I told myself to go for a walk 2 hours ago, but I didn't go for a walk. Yes,
Stress eating.
Stress eating.
Drinking.
my decisions feel like reactions. Right, they don't feel like my decisions feel, stress eating should mention. My decisions feel like things that are soothing in the moment, relieving in the moment, but not making me feel better. Perhaps even making me feel worse. What are the big areas that's often common? How do we often know we're not doing well mental health wise?
Withdrawing from family.
Withdrawing, excellent, right? I know I love them. I know they love me. Why are we not talking? Why am I not returning texts? Okay. Very good spectrum of what's going on in me. What's going on with my behaviors. And what's going on with my relationship that indicates to me that I am not okay. That's the, am I getting sick question? Let's not freak out about getting sick, let's just, okay, am I not doing that well? That makes sense, folks? Good. What tends to help us know that we're stabilized, that we're hanging in there okay?
Find joy in our day.
Okay. Joy, good. Happiness, satisfaction,
Yes.
appreciation,
Contentment.
contentment. Okay, part of the day I felt okay. Some of the day I felt lousy. You know, my boss told me about this new stupid thing that we're gonna have to do, and everyone thinks it's stupid, but whatever, it's stupid. You know, heard my favorite song on the way home. I have some contentment. Good. Other things, what reminds us that we might be stabilizing, we might be steady, we might be enduring okay.
Body automatically wakes up in the morning.
Okay, natural flow of energy, body wakes up in the morning, my sleep patterns feel okay, my eating patterns feel okay. There's nothing in my habits that that feels very wrong. Okay. I may not be perfect, I may not be ready to run a marathon. But my habits feel okay. My habits feel okay, I have some endurance, and what are the other things that tend to remind us we're stable? Yes.
When other people notice.
Okay,
So
good.
I'm always asking you like, you feel okay? You know, so.
Excellent. Who tends to be a better indicator of how you're doing, yourself or your loved ones? Right, now, I'm not saying that's 100% guarantee all the time, right? But has anyone ever gotten some feedback from a loved one and just finally went ahead and absorbed it? Yeah, you're right, I've been crabbing around all over the week. I don't need to get that upset about the dishwasher ever. And maybe I really do need to call that person. Maybe I really do need to let this vexing thing go for a while. Okay. Cool, so around the disease stuff, we're gonna do a lot with the growth stuff, so I'm gonna hold off on that question. Fleshing out and sharing our questions about getting sick, and most of y'all got them. So sleep is a pretty huge rudder behavior. If you're sleeping okay, you will frequently hang in there okay at least. If you're really not sleeping okay, it's gonna tend to catch up with mood, thought process, and energy levels. Does this make sense? Some people don't sleep great and they haven't slept great for long periods of time and they get by okay. Absolutely, right? I don't want to be prescriptive here. But when your sleep's dramatically off, one good sleep expert I heard, 3 hours, under 3 hours, 3 nights in a row, look out. Right? That's not a great place to be. Okay. Now sleep varies, but let's be asking how our sleep is. Let's be asking how our nutrition intake is. This is not a big, hey, eat a wonderful balanced diet filled with fibers. This is just, are you able to get enough food in? Okay. You're getting enough of that. You're not going to get weakened. You're not going to get dizzy. You're not going to get, okay. So 2 pretty big runner behaviors. Then this question back to treatment adherence. If I have engaged treatment, if I have talked to the expert, if I have come to the expert and the expert has said, hey, you're gonna kind of need to do this to feel okay, how am I doing with that? Right? This goes back to our denial levels. My doctor on Friday may tell me a couple of things I really don't want to hear. Right? If my A1Cs are lousy again, he may bring up metformin. I'm not going to want to hear it. Okay. But that's going to be an essential moment for me to take a look at. Well, what do you want to do relative to your disease potential, your risk potential? Does that make any sense? Let's keep taking a look at, if I've engaged a treatment process that I know is helpful, how well am I really doing at engaging with it? And or do I need to relook at it? Okay. If a treatment process hasn't been working for you, how proactive do you need to get to take a good look at it? Are you willing to contact your healthcare professional and say, I need something different? Okay. How are my substance use patterns? Substance use and behavioral health globally are not going to go along together. And how's my symptom awareness? Who helps me with my symptom awareness? 12-step programs, if I could at the moment, are fantastic models for what it means, how to successfully approach difficult, threatening, high risk, and chronic behavioral health care patterns, right? Anyone ever been to a 12-step meeting? AA, NA, OA, okay. And or there's support meetings, right? So 12-step meetings are for people who are living through addictive processes. Al-Anons are the process of support for loved ones with people dealing with addictive process. Does this make sense? And there's a number of wonderful things that go on in 12-step orientation, and I'm not here just to sell 12-step, but elements of the kinds of things that everybody's talking about, right? A couple of great things happen in 12-step. First off, day-to-time thinking. Day-to-time thinking with a very high level of accountability. Okay. Right. I came to believe that my life became unmanageable and that I need something to help me. I'm holding off on a lot of the spiritual aspects of 12-step, but just from general healthcare, that experience of the more I'm bringing high level accountability, the more I'll be in the best place to successfully address my issues. And the other huge thing that comes from 12-step, I'm going to do it in the spirit of fellowship. Okay, I'm going to connect with those others as we appreciate people coming here to connect tonight. I'm going to in the spirit of, this is not an issue of shame, guilt, this is actually an issue of sharing, of strength, wisdom, and hope. I'm going to do this in fellowship, because that's going to be a wonderful set of tools around. Okay, what's going on and what do I need to do to stay healthy? Does this make any sense? Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll ask the tough question.
Mhm.
How do you deal with the situation where your loved one doesn't believe, doesn't even recognize that they have XYZ conditions?
Sure, so your loved one has a certain amount of denial.
Correct.
Okay,
Or lack of awareness?
lack of awareness, all right. Does your loved one suffer any consequences from their behavioral health problems?
I certainly think so.
Any chance you can talk with them about the consequences
I do,
versus the diagnosis?
I do.
Okay, can they share with you anything about what it's like to live through the consequences? And what it might be like to try and suffer the consequences less and grow more?
I tried.
Okay, what tends to happen?
That's, the world's against me and everything. I'll try and do something tomorrow. And then
Oh,
shuts off.
shuts off, chooses not to engage with you.
Correct.
Okay, this is very painful when we're trying to work with someone and we see what we think would be quite self-evident for them to be helpful. Can we force people to do anything in particular? Okay, can we let people know? My experience is if you do more of this, it's not gonna help. And if we can do more of this, I think it will help. At any point that you're willing to work with me around something that might help, do you believe that I'm here for you? Does that make sense?
Sure.
Anything ever successful you two have done together relative to lowering consequences?
Then I'm there to support him, talking about my son, 35-year-old.
Alright. And have you ever had positive experiences relative to, okay, let's at least do this together?
Well, we do, but it doesn't, I can't get through the mental awareness. I can't get him to cross that bridge.
Cross which bridge?
That, Dad, yes, I need help. Or Dad, let's talk about it more to figure out what's going on. The door closes. When any even come close to mentioning mental health, medical professions, I don't use doctors and psychiatrists names anymore.
Okay, which probably is wise. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, I mean, medical professional, someone who knows.
Okay. Validation, right? Validation is the communication that we appreciate where the other person's at. We can almost always validate suffering. We can almost always validate emotion. I am sorry it's been so hard for so long, right? I'm sorry that it feels so stuck. I want you to know how much I would like to see things improve. I have some ideas on how I think things might improve. Anytime you're willing to work with me around those ideas, I want you to know I'm available. Does this make sense?
Sure does.
I get it. It feels like, oh, if only I could get that half step closer to a higher level of, you know, less denial or distinct awareness and accountability. But in the meantime, anything we can do along the validation tree, I am here, I'm learning, I'm trying to figure out any way that I can be helpful. Please let me know when you're willing to join with me at that. It's often about the best we can do. Validation is not approval. Validation is not agreement. Validation is not passivity. Okay. Doctors themselves have to spend a lot of time saying, I see, I get that you don't want to do this and you would like to do that. I gotta tell you, as your doctor, I don't think that's gonna work. Or I don't think that's gonna, I absolutely will, and I'm trying to hear everything about where you're trying to come from. I'll try and help you with that as much as possible. Right? We do the same as loved ones. I see this pattern, I see this habit, I think it causes a lot of suffering and distress. I know things could be different, I would like things to be different. That we can work together on that. But I also can't agree with you keeping up the thing that's gonna be hurtful to you and say I'm okay with it. Yes, sir.
And then at what point do we recognize, because we're kind of sharing the same thing here, I'm seeing. Where it's taking us down, and we're not seeing it.
Yep.
We're fighting a good fight. But. We're not recognizing what's happened to us. We need us some to help us.
Absolutely. We are often in the process of acceptance. Right? We are often in the acceptance of our own limitations, our own healthcare concerns. Right? While we're also trying to figure out where we can assert. And you want to blend the two. You don't want them mutually exclusive. Right? This is the serenity prayer. Right? Grant me to the acceptance to change the things I cannot change. Grant me the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We're often trying to blend the two. And again, acceptance, like validation, doesn't mean you give it up. Doesn't mean you approve. Does mean we are trying to meet the most serene place. And that serenity is often moving through the process of grief. Right? Serenity frequently ain't feeling too serene. Until we are moving through a lot of grief, a lot of loss, a lot of fear. Till we get to, but I will look for the chance to assert successfully when I can. That make any sense?
Working on it.
Yeah, well, sorry, have you found yourself surprised? A little bit in shock, overwhelmed, discouraged, hopeless, right? Absolutely, understandable. You have the power to keep doing the most helpful thing. Probably needs to be in some context of it is what it is. I'll keep looking for the chance to improve, but it is what it is. And the more I can sit as peacefully as possible, permit my emotions, my sadness, my anger, my fear to just keep moving. I'll try and figure out the best place for myself and my kids. It's not easy. Okay. Anyone else?
It's along that lines, wouldn't a therapist or our own therapist help us when we feel like we can't help them?
Sure. Again, when clinical means we're worried it's really not going to get better without additional help, and the risk factors keep growing without additional help. But keep it on the spectrum. An expert might be able to help you, but we can all help ourselves quite a bit well, and our experience of fellowship. Right? When you go to 12-step programs, nobody has a promotion. Nobody has a beginner's mind, right? We're all in the exact same place because all of us have healthcare concerns and we're all trying to manage them the best possible. So let it be both. Don't take away a strength from wherever a strength may come from. Maybe a friend, maybe a, but yeah. Again, it gets very vexing when someone could use some treatment and they avoid treatment. But we'll see how I do on Friday.
There's no sound for those on Zoom.
Yes, we know. We're working on it. So please be patient.
Good drinks, water, anything you need. There was a red light on the microphone with the owl. I'm not seeing it now.
Can you guys hear him now?
Check, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Got a yes?
Yes, that's a yes.
Cool. Keep moving and.
Can we see the last slide? Oh, thank you.
Good. Keep your relationships thriving, keep moving, and keep learning. This makes sense. The brain is a learning mechanism. Right? Failure to learn new things is the same thing as being a couch potato. The brain is a dendritic growth, right? The brain is a huge organism of connectivity. And learning is the way to create as much generativity as possible. Okay. Anyone pick up a new hobby, new habit, new reading, new book, new anything? Yes?
All of that. I picked up a book, I picked up a new hobby.
Good. What's your new hobby? Just curious.
I'm doing more knitting.
Knitting. Okay. Excellent. Yes. Ping pong. Okay. Movement and hand-eye and good.
Super good.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Playing the cello.
The cello, new instrument, right? I learned a new instrument. I like get headaches. It like takes so much, but good, excellent. Okay, movement, learning. The other ones that are in there, a generous and grateful attitude and outlook. And I want to be very careful here. This is not a moral, right? This is not a moral. You need to do more volunteer work. This is, it sure certainly looks like the research is very suggestive. When we have a very high level of appreciation and sharing, right? This is enhancing the connectivity part. And this is enhancing the experience of reward in relationship with others through giving. Does this make sense? It's most likely due to the fact that we're extremely social animals. At the end of the day, we're, evolved from primates, and monkeys do better than tigers, right? Because we really do sit around and pick nits off each other's back, right? I pick the nits off your back, you pick the nits off my back. Does that make sense? Primates are more evolved than other mammals because they're so social. And that's true for us. And anything that has the experience of givingness towards others is powerfully antidepressive and anti-anxiety provoking. Does this make sense? Okay. Thanksgiving dinner doesn't always go well, but what do we look for at Thanksgiving dinner?
Gratitude.
Gratitude, right? Nearness, security, right? Starting to get cold, but we are together in meal, right? So what are the things that help you with generosity and gratitude? And finally, mindfulness, and I think a lot of you are speaking to this. Can I get good at noticing what's happening with me mentally, emotionally, and physically without judging it a lot, without reacting, without pushing it away, and with the spirit of kindly trying to figure out what's the most effective thing I can do? Okay, what's the definition of mindfulness? Mindfulness is intentional awareness of my very present. My thoughts, my emotions, my physical reactions, with the kind intention of figuring out the best of what I can do for myself. Okay? Mindfulness is very good at accountability. Mindfulness is very good at low denial. Mindfulness is very good at seeing what's possible versus what's not possible. Okay. So these are the what's that we want to be cultivating if we're cultivating good proactive mental health. And how should we do it? Well, let's make sure we don't make it complicated. Let's keep it simple, okay? Such as a new book. Let's keep it short. Learning cello isn't short. Ping pong game could be short, okay? Let's keep it clear, right? Let's do the things that are very distinctly, we know that they're gonna work, okay? I don't go to the gym. I don't like treadmills. I don't like working out. I don't. I will run after a ball till I drop. Kick a ball till I drop. I'll throw a ball till, right? I have to make sure my garage is cleaned out before winter comes in. Because I will go down to my garage and pick a ball against tennis against the thing. I'll work on my pitch, work on my slider. I don't really have one, but I can pretend. I will do that. I'm not gonna go to the gym 3 times a week this winter. Maybe. Highly unlikely. Okay. Simple, clear, unique, varied. Cello. How'd you come up with cello?
We had a tryout day in elementary school and I just went up to the cello and upon seeing it and playing it, I don't know why, but I just fell in love with it.
Oh, your thing. Does that make sense? Anyone here have been told, oh, you should try yoga? Who wants to try yoga? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Anyone here have been told, oh, you should try this, you should try that, you should try. And in general, it was kind of a stupid idea, or it wasn't your idea. Does this make sense? That's all I mean by unique. Okay. My doctor would love me to go to the gym. I'm not gonna go to the gym. I might kick the soccer ball against my garage wall for 20 minutes, 3 times a week this winter. It's unique. It's me. Cello is yours. Keep it accessible. Don't make things complicated. And be sharing the things, the ways that you are working on your proactivity. So what I did, if you'd like, we have to deal with algorithms a lot. I created an algorithm. Okay. The fields that we should be working on are connection and movement and learning and generosity and mindfulness. And the ways we want to do it is keep it simple, brief, unique, clear, accessible, and shared. Let's do this for ourselves, right? Do it once and revisit it. Do it again and revisit it. Share it with loved ones and revisit it. Does this make sense? Let's get proactive around the stuff that we know is pretty obvious. What's a simple way to maintain connection?
Call a friend.
Call a friend. What's a brief way to maintain connection? We get to repeat a lot. Call a friend. What's a unique way to maintain connection? Anyone have a friend who loves a particular thing? If you showed up with one particular little thing, they would be really delighted by it. Okay. My wife 100 times better than me at this, so it makes sense. She will know the thing, the purple thing, the flower thing, okay. Keep it unique. What's a clear way to keep connection going?
Plan to get together.
Plan to get together. Make it regular. Accessible text, shared. We're talking about connection, so it's shared. Learning. What's a simple way to learn?
Read a book.
New book. What's a brief way to learn?
Do a podcast.
Podcast, right? Pull them up. My wife's always like, why do you have 12 websites open on your Gmail all the time? I'm like, 12 things I might look at. I might check them out. I don't know. Yeah, I might check out that page on Azerbaijan and the ways that, you know, I might. Okay. What's a unique way to keep learning? What's a thing that you think, oh yeah, that's fine.
Sign up for a new
class of some sort.
Class, anyone have anything? Oh yeah, this is the thing that's me that I've always wanted to get into more.
Like photography or.
Photography, good, is that yours? Anyone else, unique thing you wanna keep learning about?
Be good.
Watch a football game, even if you don't understand football.
Oh, okay, yeah, challenge yourself, right? What are the rules of this crazy game? Cricket, I've always wanted to figure out, like, how does that work? Good, not your thing? Good, it is not unique to you. Does this make sense to folks? A lot of repetition. But again, let's chart it out. Let's go ahead and, not one fixed snapshot and not one big obligation. Right, the things where you're going to experience, oh yes, this is what stabilizes me. And this is what helps me start to feel like I'm thriving. Questions, comments on this? We know we have to deal with a lot of problems, a lot of them are painful, disease processes are tough. But we also absolutely want to keep having a growth direction, yes.
How do you keep it from becoming a big obligation?
Big up, okay. I would say make sure it remains unique to you. That makes sense? To have those things that you know when you do them, you experience movement, right? I always get careful about the idea of you should exercise. Lots of people hate exercise. Most people like to move doing something, the garden, the pets. Does that make sense? Do you have the things that you know, oh yeah, when I do that, that's when I feel myself thriving? Okay, I would do that. I would do anything that helps enhance that. If it's a should, what's the problem with Google? Google doesn't know you. There's a big problem with Google. Google's not wrong. All those recommendations out there, they're not wrong, but they're not you. Does that make sense? All of us are going to tend with the feeling of limitations, and we can make a gazillion suggestions over and over. Eat kale, do yoga. Right? We do that over and over, but that's not us. Have the experience of yourself of, oh, this is me growing into my stability and proactive health. Because it works for me. Okay. Now, one last one, growth in particular. This is stolen straight from DBT. If anyone's done dialectic behavior therapy or a certain ACT, how do I get myself growing? Well, the best way to get yourself growing is to start with your own values. Right? Again, lots of people will have lots of good ideas on you should try this, you should try that. And my real suggestion would be the ways you want to grow are the ways that suit your values. Hopefully you've had some experience of it. Hopefully you've had some experience. This is what is important to me in life. And this is where I've had some success cultivating that value in my life. From your values, you might want to pick a couple goals. But let's be real careful about goals. I think goals get overplayed, and goals are often the rocks that our health crash upon. Okay? So anyone here had a goal and they didn't make it to that goal, or they couldn't make it to that goal, there was a new barrier to that goal, and okay? So let's have goals so that we have a distinct direction. But then, once we've worked our goals, let's focus on the tasks that we can do now, today, to help potential movement to goals that suit our tasks. Does this make sense to folks? Goals are great, but goals are often interrupted. Goals are often partial. Goals are often needing to be reinformed. Let's go back to, yes, sir.
What's a better word than goals then?
Well, I think goals is okay, because you might hit a goal. That makes sense? You might hit a goal. I'd like to get down to, I don't know, I have a weight I have in mind, right? Okay, I'd like to get down to there. Yeah, I might not. I'd really like my A1Cs to get back under 5.6. That's a goal. Okay. But what I should really do is figure out from my values, which tends to love sports, tends to love competition. I got a real big competition problem right up till the game's over, and I'm the nicest guy in the world. Right? Should I play hockey? You know, will that do it? Will that be the goal? But I know one way or another, I should move today. Pardon me, the wiffle ball net's set up at the house. And I can go home and I can work on my slider on my wiffle ball. That's my task for today. My goal, yeah, I hope to get under this weight. I hope to get my A1Cs down to a particular goal. But I know what really works is that I like moving and I like sports. And I like competition, and I should just keep doing those. My goals I'll figure out. Does that make any sense? Goals, you want goals to be kind of lighthouses, they're there. But, and you might get to a couple of them. But lots of goals are partial, lots of goals get edited, lots of goals get shipped around. Stick with values, get into tasks. And let your tasks just keep reinforcing this process. If you don't know your values, get in touch with them. Here's Google, and just grab this one, there's a values list. Okay? Go ahead, go through it. Oh, I think I would like to work on nature, yeah, I'm not gonna pretend. Sportsmanship, maybe. Fun, definitely. Oh, post-COVID. Right? Who found COVID a fun destroyer? Right? How would I enhance fun? And then go ahead and do it. This is the value, this is the goal I'm working on. This is the tasks that are going to help me with my goals. Let's behaviorally get active. Let's proactively plan on growth for my values. And then I get into it. And just let that become the regular feedback loop. Cool. We have about time? 7:01. Does this make sense? Ways to approach the tough disease process for ourselves and our loved ones. Let's get good at exploring, how do I know when I'm sick? Let's get good at, this is what stabilizes me, this is what creates security, and let's good at, and this is how I thrive and grow. I'm gonna work on all three, because I can't always control disease process. I can't always try and think of, how do I keep stabilizing? How do I feel myself grow in future direction? Cool, questions, comments? Always happy to talk more about helping with loved ones with behavioral health issues. We've done that a number of times. So I don't know, maybe we should do more of a support group at the Lindner Center. Yes,
You mentioned about all the time, sometimes the words didn't come out as I would like, right? And so I'm curious, do you have any phrases or lists of phrases that are just really helpful ways of asking questions or talking to people?
people with behavioral health problems. Yeah, good. So you put it right. So questions help and I statements help. Always be careful about you, right? You need to get on top of this problem, right? You need to, does this make sense? How do people tend to feel when someone says you blank?
Shut down.
Shut down, right? We're trying to prevent defensiveness as much as possible. So questions and I statements. And your I statement gets to be quite honest, quite direct. I am very worried that if this keeps up, you're gonna get hurt.
You just used the word you though, that's, I think that was gonna be my question.
Okay, fair enough. I worry a lot that if this keeps up, the consequences are gonna be tough for us both to bear.
Okay.
Fair enough?
fair enough. I can easily say, my son's name is Mark. Mark, I believe that you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
As soon as I say you,
Right, I think you're an idiot is not an I statement. So you're right, it is the tenor as well as the grammar, and in the tenor, it gets to be very, I feel sick relative to the degree that you're suffering. And I really want it to feel different. Yes, sir.
Can you say what's happening right now is unacceptable behavior?
Oh, sure, yep. If something's unacceptable happening, I love you, I want the best, I hope for the best, but you don't get to do this, you don't get to call people these names. You don't get to, right, so that's the other one, sticking with behavior versus characteristics. That makes sense? Questions?
And see, that's where, okay, so similar to what he was saying. You're saying you don't get to do this. Well, where am I going?
You get to call an unacceptable behavior unacceptable. If someone's being abusive, if their language is being off, right? If they're throwing things around the house, these are not acceptable things. I don't get to do it, you don't get to do it, nobody gets to do it. Right, rules of the house, I'm often telling people, right? What would be the rules that you would have for any adult living with you in your house? Because those rules are probably built on safety and health. So you always get to point out that behavior is not okay. We are doing it in the context of trying to avoid the use and definitely trying to avoid judgment, labels, blame. Makes sense? But it's not easy.
No.
Because people do stuff that drives us nuts. Let yourself be informed by your emotions. Try not to let the emotions dictate the conversation. And that's a struggle, right? Your emotions aren't wrong. Your anger, your fear, they're not wrong. But we are trying to regulate it enough to still stay in that place where you can say, this is what I can live with, this is what I can't live with, this is what I hope for. This is what I expect as your father. It's perfectly healthy for a father to have expectations. I'll try to make sure that they are not unfair, that they are not fun. NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, Southwest Ohio chapter is quite good. It's very good. Has the peer groups and then also has family support groups as well. So NAMI is always a good, easy recommend. Yes.
I was just gonna point out, it's not behavior of a learned item, which that you maybe can look at, where was this behavior learned from?
Sure. Yeah. Right, where's this coming from? Right? And for us as parents, hey, to any degree I've contributed to this, I am sorry for that. It is still not an acceptable behavior. Right? Anyone been guilted into feeling guilty for a loved one's behavior? Okay. You get to say, hey, any degree that I've been part of this, my apologies, I can work on that. Two wrongs don't make a right. Sorry, I don't mean that flippantly. But if you feel hurt by something I did years ago, we can have a conversation about that. Doesn't give you the right to throw plates across the room. That make sense? I statements, questions, try and keep focusing in on behaviors. Do all you can to avoid the labels, the judgments, the black lights, the all nothings. But it's painful.
How do you address when they just keep making excuses for everything? Like you just,
Addressing making excuses for everything? Okay, all right. I hear, I can hear your explanations, I get it, I'll take your explanations, and behaviors have consequences. And I don't say that cruelly or meanly, but behaviors are gonna have consequences, and as the consequences come up, I think we just need to sit down honestly about what they're gonna be. Because I do not like what you've had to live through so far with the consequences of your actions. And I'm worried about what comes up next with the consequences of your actions. Yeah, but this, yeah, but that, yeah, but this, okay, I get it. but I'm worried about the consequences, and I'm sure we can find some different way for this to function better. Right? We're often trying to avoid the sparring, right? So we're not trying to win. This is not trying to win. Guilting, beating, blaming. Yes,
Question in the chat says, any tips on, and then in quotation, feeling too good, mania, and not wanting to change that feeling? Breakthrough mania when compliant in good sleep routine, high level of exercise. How much do we overprotect?
yeah, it's tricky. Anybody, so with bipolar disorder, right, you're talking about the two poles, like the North Pole and the South Pole, depression, the pole most of us are familiar with, mania. Some people have it as a very primary issue. Lots of us have a couple of days where we're like, gee, why was I exactly taking all those risks and thinking I was the center of the world? But mania is too high. But any degree to which you had the imbalancing, yeah, it's very common to come to the question, am I happy or am I manic? Right, and it's tricky. I mean, it does get tough. Am I happy or so? One, share your concerns with somebody who you can trust, who can help go through with you. Gee, do my behaviors feel happy or manic? Right. Couple of, again, the runners, how's your sleep? Right. If you're really losing sleep multiple days on end and your energy levels are going up, that would be a concerning behavior. Sleep is a real runner behavior. But if your sleep's pretty intact, if you're eating okay, if your nutrition's intact and most of your habits are still intact, cool. But then make sure you have the shared experience with someone of what feels like the way to account for, does this behavior feel healthy, happy? Is this some nice spontaneity, some reasonable risk-taking, exploring new things? Or is this going, and that's where we really want fellowship of people we trust to say, hey, was that a funny thing I said, or was that a mean thing I said? Right? Was that a creative decision, or was that just a impulsive decision waiting for all sorts of negative consequences to happen? So those would be my biggies, right? Those rudder behaviors, sleep, appetite, but then also the shared experience to critique with someone you trust. Oh, these behaviors feel like a healthy pattern or headed towards an unhealthy pattern. And the unhealthy pattern will frequently have to do about excessive risk taking, excessive impulsivity, particularly around media. Hope that's all.
Assuming that, Jenna, did that answer your question? Said the runner behavior may be because he has been running a lot.
Right, so again, how much is that running pattern? How much is that within the norm of what you would see? Versus, again, everybody needs to tire at some point. So if it's running multiple days in a row, excessive, well beyond the typical norm without adequate sleep or rest. The valid question. Hard to know, just try and open the conversation around behaviors. Cool. Yes, ma'am.
Are you currently accepting new patients in your practice with Lindner Center of Hope?
And typically, I mainly do outpatient, so I try to make sure I'm available for, you know, if someone's saying, oh, I liked what you were saying about this, can we, yeah, make myself available. I'll give you my contact. Yes.
What are your thoughts about letter writing? Like just sharing perspective, and I realize that can be tricky, right? Because you don't have necessarily, and depending on the person, relationship, can it be helpful, or I guess you kind of figure that out, whether it's helpful or not, depending on the person and how they receive.
One of the things that I think any kind of journaling, writing, I think all of that is extremely helpful with mindfulness, right? If you wanna do mindfulness, start writing letters. Do you send them, do you not send them? Who knows? Right? Journal, that's one great way. Mindfulness can be lots of stuff, it can be a lot of meditation. I do a lot of mindfulness, I do a lot of meditation, I do my yoga, you don't have to like yoga. But I find that if you journal or any kind of writing like that, that will automatically, spontaneously enhance mindfulness quite a bit. Then comes the secondary question, do I share this or not? And what are the consequences of sharing it or not? But yeah, if you have an inclination to that kind of connectivity, I think it's wonderful just to start from yourself. And then there's probably a judgment call, what should get shared, what should not get shared. I think there's probably been a lot of brilliant letters never sent. Yes, ma'am.
So all the practices that we've looked at are baby steps.
Yeah.
As successful if you just open a book. If you haven't read in 6 months, if you open a book.
Absolutely.
Then next week maybe add something else. Because pretty much hit on everything that I'm trying to fill in.
Good.
Feel it all.
Oh, right, so again, make sure it's about you and make sure it's tasks that you can actually do. Then try and zero in on that. Right? This is why, let's be careful about goals. Who here has been frustrated by a set of goals in their life? Yeah, right. Try and zero in on, you know, that experience of effectiveness. Mindfulness tries to decrease judgment, tries to increase the experience of effectiveness. Right? How do I not feel burdened? Let's let the judgment go. Let's try and increase the feeling of effectiveness. Reflect on when it has felt successful to you. Cello. Cello's my thing. I know my thing. I know what I feel like when I got my thing. Just try and keep enhancing that. And of course, when we get discouraged, when we fall off, when we just be kind. Go ahead, go back and note that you are working on what you value. Not what Google tells you about.
Speaking about goals, I was curious if there was a particular time frame that you found is really helpful for people to kind of reevaluate, because sometimes, as you were mentioning the goals, you know, you don't want it to become some decision fatigue or where it's so routine that it becomes a chore. And so is it just a personal decision, or is it something that, hey, I find that weekly or monthly or whatever, it's good to kind of go through all of this, just to kind of create some positive patterns if they don't exist?
Can be quite individualized. I'll say this, we know from behavioral change, humans like to notice a pattern change over 3 months and then get it reinforced over 6 months. Does this make sense? A lot of people go into the gym January 3rd. Okay. Not necessarily a lot of habitual change has happened at the end of January. It's not bad that people got to the gym. Yeah, go to the gym in January. If you gave it up in January, give it a try in March, if you want to give it a try in March. But if we really do focus in on, if you really were to try and prepare for a half marathon in July and, you know, you're met with a running group and you really stuck with it. If you kept it up for 3 months and then reinforced it for 6 months, we know that that's suggestive of more permanence in behavior change. Does that make sense? Not that you've cured your health or anything, but that you most likely ingrained both some physical and some behavioral changes. So just that general target, 3 to 6 months, if you really want to focus in on something. But I still want to back into, let's take it at a time, moment by moment. Let's open the book and book goes down and open the book back up and I still have a guitar sitting in my family room. I doubt it, but I liked it once. When my nieces come by and they play it, maybe one of them take the guitar. I don't know. So both, but 3 to 6 months when you're saying, gee, I want to feel something, 3 to 6 months is a good target. Just we know from behavioral research, behavioral change research. Yes.
if sleeping can turn into an avoidance.
Mhm.
Then what message or what can you do on my end? To lift them out of the avoidance?
Sure, so my question would be, okay, when do you feel like you're resting? Versus when do you feel like you might have something you'd rather get to?
Yeah.
Well, I don't wanna get to anything. Nothing? Can I help you get motivated for anything? That you might wanna get up for? Right, I would work on. When can we have the experience of, well, you know, cause with depression, people do sleep a lot with, you know, that can happen. Can you tell me about what it's like for you to have rest and what feels like adequate rest for you? Versus when you're just sitting there. Not sure what to do, or afraid of what to do, or feeling no motivation to do anything. Right? Depression's rough because it's three things. It's metabolic. Right? It goes after sleep patterns, it goes after appetite patterns, and then it's motivational and reward. Right? It will take both motivation and the reward of doing anything, and hedonia, the inability to feel pleasure. Right? So now I don't want to get up and do anything. If I bother to go get up and do anything, schmack, why did I not do that? Then it goes after thought process. Thoughts get darkened, hopeless, helpless, worthless, and guilt. Okay, so we have this sort of spectrum that we're coping with. So the question becomes, okay, what do you feel you need for rest? And what's anything we can do to help to get you up, to feel yourself moving in a healthy way? Even just the accomplishment of getting up, getting coffee and taking a walk. Can I do that with you? Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Good. Keep trying to look for the behaviors that feel healthy versus unhealthy. See if you can keep proposing questions too. Is there any way I can help you with this?